There's a valley in Spain called Jarama.
1936. España se rompe en dos. Un golpe de estado nos lleva a una cruel guerra que hace que una parte del país acabe fusilada en las cunetas y que hermanos luchen contra hermanos. Dicen que la guerra civil española fue el comienzo, la sala de pruebas, la primera batalla de la Segunda Guerra Mundial. Y se puede decir que realmente fue así, ya que en sus trincheras hubo gente de todas partes del mundo, luchando codo con soldados republicanos. Vinieron a intentar salvar una democracia emergente e ilusionada que se veía degollada por un fascismo europeo que amenazaba al continente y que poco después nos llevó al borde del abismo. Hombres y mujeres que individualmente abandonaron su país para luchar por la libertad de un pueblo ajeno que simbolizaba la libertad mundial. Fueron las Brigadas Internacionales.
It was about a group of very ordinary men in lots of ways, because a lot of people have the idea that the people who went to Spain were poets or writers, because some poets and some writers went, but the vast majority of the men who fought in the international brigades were working class men from poor families. I think that they would always see themselves as fighting against oppression and fighting for democracy. I don't think it was ever about personal glory. It was about fighting for a cause that you really believed in.
Que cuando el cerco ya de Madrid prácticamente, pues vino el batallón Telpan de voluntarios. Inicialmente fueron muy pocos y se constituyeron como consecuencia de la Olimpiada de Barcelona, que se oponía a la Olimpiada de Berlín. ¿Estamos? Y entonces eran muy pocos, pero fueron el embrión de las Brigadas Internacionales de carácter alemán.
En el frente de Tardienta hubo brigadas internacionales, pero generalmente estaban en Madrid. Pero cuando la batalla del Ebro los trajeron, y yo el contacto que con ellos fue muy pequeño, muy pequeño. Sufrieron mucho, padecieron mucho, tuvieron la mala suerte de enfrentarse con las tropas de Franco, de las más aguerridas y las más fuertes, los del tercio, y sufrieron muchísimas bajas.
Well, the women that I know were supportive, because most of the people I know were politically minded and saw the war in Spain as the fight against fascism. Europe was going to develop into the Second World War. They could see it coming. So the women were completely supportive.
Right.
Yes. Right. In the meantime, apart from the work side, I've become interested in politics, and I joined the Even Communist League, and went to meetings, of course, and went to the right, the fascists, mostly Alex, and were around, and had quite an active life outside my job, going around to these meetings and having discussions and getting a political education.
Yo participé en el principio con el 5º Regimiento, que fue el primero que se formó de milicias voluntarias. Y después estas unidades, como consecuencia de las tremendas bajas sufridas por las internacionales, se incorporaron estas unidades, inicialmente españolas, a ellos. En el plano político había un apartado que era fundamentalmente el definir de qué partido pertenecías. Y por mutuo convenio de todo el mundo, la respuesta era siempre antifascista.
In the light of hindsight, the European countries didn't do themselves any good by not supporting Spain, because it led very quickly to the outbreak of the war. Of course, they could have supplied Spain with with armaments and ammunition and supplies and medicines and so on. I mean, no question that the embargo on supplies to Spain played a big part in defeating them. Yes. Oh, it was isolated.
Isolated.
Yes, no question.
La experiencia es de que si Francia nos hubiera ayudado un poco, hubiéramos ganado la guerra.
Bill Alexander, Bill, when he came back, he was the last brigade commander. When he came back, he formed the International Brigade Association and wouldn't allow anybody but brigaders to join it. So, wives, children, supporters like ourselves couldn't become members of the International Brigade Association, with the result that in the last few years it's gone because everybody's died. So the children, Sam's children in particular, Dolores and the others, have reformed it as the friends of the, and which it should have been all along. And they were very supportive of each other, but very isolated from everybody else.
Su base se encontraba en Albacete y los batallones solían tomar nombres como Valery Wroblewski, muerto en la Comuna de París, o de figuras políticas de prestigio como Tom Mann. La sede internacional de reclutamiento se estableció en París. Pero si los países de origen no autorizaban su lucha en España, ¿cómo llegar?
Weekend trips to France, very cheap.
Yeah.
And you just go over the weekend, you know. So I went by train and boat to France. I can't remember the actual port I put in, but after that, once over there, I was met by some Communist Party people, French, who traded me across the country to Spain, and ended up just over the Pyrenees at a Spanish town. Yeah, memory. But by that time I was involved with quite a number of people, French, German, Austrian. Well, the Young Communist League and the Communist Party didn't talk about anything else.
Yeah.
And they mentioned I don't think they specifically asked for volunteers, but they encouraged people to ask about. And if they appear to be suitable, okay. In fact, I was in the Young Communist League, you know, well known to the Communist Party members. They must have given me the okay. Otherwise, I don't think I would have been accepted at all.
I don't think it was forbidden, but it was certainly not made any easier. Most of them went by going to France on a day trip and then just didn't come back.
La idea original de la creación de las Brigadas Internacionales se presentó en Moscú en septiembre de 1936. El gobierno español no aceptó en un principio la propuesta, pero el 19 de junio de 1937, Vicente Rojo, jefe del Estado Mayor, ordena lo siguiente: todos los extranjeros que presten servicio al ejército quedan enclavados en las Brigadas Internacionales. André Martí será nombrado jefe de la base. Podemos imaginar las Brigadas Internacionales como una gran torre de Babel donde multitud de anécdotas, buenas y malas, sin duda, tuvieron lugar.
While he was in Spain, he was awarded a Medal of Valor by the Spanish government for his bravery. He was shot in the right hand, but carried on fighting, and they said that he was an amazing example of bravery and leadership.
Pues graciosísimo, porque nosotros nos impusimos, por necesidad, aprender en cierta medida lo elemental de su idioma. Y se dio la circunstancia de dos españoles estar discutiendo cada uno en su idioma. Y digo, cacho, cabrón, si tú eres español. Y tú también, no sé, inconfundible, ¿no?
Claro.
O sea, nos incorporamos en cuerpo y alma y ellos, nosotros, ¿no?
Pues en el batallón de la muerte yo estaba en Tardienta, en el frente de Aragón, y se presentó una noche allí, bajaron del tren un batallón, ya os lo he dicho antes, bien arreglados, bien con puñales, al estilo de los facios italianos, parecidos a ellos. Venían, había una ermita de allí que no había forma de tomarla, la ermita de Santa Quiteria, y venían ellos a tomarla. Sí, a tomarla. Hicieron un ataque y algunos fueron corriendo hasta Barcelona.
La que especialmente recuerdo, y esa es inolvidable, claro, era la defensa de Madrid. La defensa de Madrid y caer en una primera línea, puesto que no teníamos armamento, la intervención a fabricar armas, pues bueno, ir detrás otra fila recogiendo esas áreas y tirando para adelante, ¿eh? O sea, eso no fue ninguna broma. Claro, que sabían que iban a morir, que no había término medio. Y las unidades mías, que eran los arditis, que quiere decir ardimento, quiere decir, pues aquí lo llevábamos, yo les comandé, pero principalmente les comandó un camarada italiano que le habían volado el cráneo y llevó un casco de platino.
He was in hospital, he'd been wounded and he was in hospital, and he heard that his brigade were in a very, very difficult position, and he discharged himself from the hospital and managed to get a lift on a lorry and found his men, and I can remember his friends telling me that there was just, when they saw him jump off the lorry, there was just this great applause and cheering, because they were very, very pleased to see that he was back.
En lo que a mí concierne, tuve un capitán que me he acordado toda la vida, Herbert Buschler se llamaba. Aquel hombre había huido de Alemania porque era antifascista, había huido de Alemania, del Führer, perseguidos como perros allí en Alemania, vino a España. Un hombre que llevaba una disciplina que yo me acuerdo toda la vida. Nos hacía en pleno invierno ponernos desnudos de cuerpo para arriba para lavarnos todos. Hacía despiojar a la gente. Consiguió utensilios de pasta de dientes en aquella época. Para afeitarse, él no consentía que fuera nadie sucio. Y que fuera nadie con piojos. Era lo que se dice un alemán. Lo perdí en la batalla de Teruel. Aquel hombre lo perdí y nunca más he sabido de él. Y tengo un recuerdo de él, un hombre...
When they got to Spain and found that they had the uniforms, they had the weapons, and the organisation at first was very inefficient, and at the beginning I believe they had only some obsolete rifles that Russia let them have. Because of course Britain and France and the other northwest countries put an embargo on deliveries to Spain. So Spain was cut off like Cuba is now. And Cuba has learned from Spain's
It must have been very, very chaotic, a lot of the training and the organisation. And whenever I've been back to Spain and seen the places where my father was fighting, it just amazes me, because it's up in mountains and in very deserted areas, and the organisation of brigades of men and communication must have been really, really difficult in those times. I mean, I'm just amazed at
Los primeros brigadistas llegaron el 14 de octubre de 1936 y quedaron encuadrados en las brigadas 11, 12 y 13, aunque hubo extranjeros desde los primeros días de la guerra, ya que en julio de 1936 se celebraron en Barcelona las Olimpiadas Populares, olimpiadas que se oponían a las oficiales, celebradas en la Alemania nazi de Hitler. Los brigadistas se definieron por su bravura y valor. Las batallas más representativas en las que participaron fueron: Batalla de Madrid, del 7 al 23 de noviembre de 1936. Batalla de Boadilla, del 13 al 25 de diciembre de 1936. Batalla de Córdoba, del 12 de diciembre del 1936 al 2 de enero de 1937. Batalla de la Carretera de La Coruña, del 3 al 15 de enero de 1937. Batalla del Jarama, del 6 al 27 de enero y junio de 1937. Batalla de Guadalajara, del 8 al 18 de marzo de 1937. Batalla de Brunete, del 6 al 26 de julio de 1937. La ofensiva republicana de Aragón, de agosto a octubre de 1937. Batalla de Teruel, del 15 de diciembre de 1937 al 20 de febrero de 1938. La ofensiva nacional de Aragón, del 8 de marzo al 29 de julio de 1938. Y la batalla del Ebro, de julio a noviembre de 1938.
Everyone went to Spain for different reasons. Some of them went because they were conscious and saw it as the forerunner to the Second World War. Some of them went because they were fed up to the back teeth with living in the poverty-stricken circumstances. Some of them were just young lads who wanted to go for a bit of adventure. You can't say that there was an overriding. But certainly, once they got to Spain and mixed with the politically conscious people, most of the young ones became politically conscious and retained that consciousness.
He went to Spain because I think of this feeling of democracy being at stake. At the Spanish Civil War, if what was happening in Spain wasn't defended and fought for, if democracy wasn't fought for in Spain, then there was a danger of what was happening in Spain spreading throughout Europe.
Politics, and also because I didn't fancy working at this job for the rest of my life. I couldn't get trained, I had no means of doing no college degrees or anything like that. I'd just be a lumpen proletariat, sort of thing, and wasn't going to be much to me. So I'll use this to do a bit. I'm not a soldier, but there must be lots of things that I can do. Then with the development of Spain, I thought I would do this job. It's boring, it's like I'll go and see what I can do to help. So I went to help to Spain out of the desire to be helpful and as a marker against fascism, European fascism in general. First of all, they had the time, they had the ideas, emotions, the desire to help, and thought, well, go over there and do a spot.
Pues hubo de todo. Hubo brigadistas internacionales que vinieron llenos de fe para luchar contra el fascismo. Hubo otros que venían aprovechados. Otros que estaban sin trabajo y se apuntaban creyendo que venían a una verbena. Y se encontraron con lo que se encontraron. Y hubo muchos que cayeron prisioneros y las pasaron muy mal.
Ellos luchaban por la libertad exclusivamente, puesto que ellos aquí no vinieron a ganar nada, vinieron a perderlo todo hasta la vida. Abandonaron a sus mujeres, a sus padres, a sus hijos, y todo en defensa de la libertad, entonces se ventilaba aquí. Y lo abandonaron todo. Yo les he visto, bueno, pues además con un entusiasmo y una entrega total.
La batalla del Ebro fue la última en que lucharon los brigadistas. El 28 de octubre de 1938, vencidos y cansados, abandonan España entre aplausos y ovaciones. Clamorosa fue la despedida que le hicieron en la avenida 14 de abril de Barcelona ante más de 300.000 personas, y emotivas las palabras que una agradecida pasionaria les dedicó allí. En España se les llamó caballeros de la libertad del mundo. Pero, ¿cómo fueron recibidas estas personas en la vuelta a su país? ¿Como héroes o como canallas?
Esos fueron perseguidos a sangre y fuego. A sangre y fuego, lo digo bien. Bueno, Francia fue algo increíblemente monstruoso, ¿no? Francia les persiguió de lleno, vamos, hasta el punto de producirse detenciones fenomenales, ¿no? Y bueno, y en Polonia también, o sea, sí, ya lo creo. O sea, que después de la guerra española tuvieron que afrontar no solamente la Segunda Mundial, sino además la persecución en su propio país. Bueno, quizás alguno pudo volver difícilmente a la Argentina, y con muchas dificultades, porque ya te digo que la persecución era increíble, considerándole como enemigos, vamos, prácticamente, ¿no? Revolucionarios, para ellos eran todos comunistas, y con el término comunista cubrían todo, ¿no? Ellos figuraban solo como antifascistas, aunque hubiera uno que pudiera establecerse pues un cómputo de cantidad, pues no, porque inevitablemente partido político antifascista.
When they came back, it wasn't to a hero's welcome in this country. I think it changed his life totally. While he was in Spain, he joined the Communist Party, and he became much more political in Spain. And when he came back from Spain, even though the Republic had been defeated and they'd lost, my father made a speech when the British battalion was disbanding and they were all going their separate ways. My father made a speech and he said that even though the fight in Spain was over, that the people who'd been to Spain would carry on the fight on other fronts. And that's what they all did. My father got involved in local politics. A lot of people got involved in other political campaigns. But Spain was the beginning of that political education, really. And he didn't go to the Second World War, and it's a very interesting question, because some of the men who were in Spain did go to fight in the Second World War, and some of them, including my father, were not allowed to fight in the Second World War, which is interesting because those men who had been in Spain had a lot of military experience, and they'd been fighting fascism, and but my father didn't fight in the Second World War, and I'm still not quite sure of why that was. I think that some of the people who had been in Spain were considered by the British government to be a little bit dangerous and maybe too revolutionary.
They were refused. They were considered to be unreliable. They were,
Yeah, why?
Yeah. Don't ask me. I don't see what logic they made up. It was the part of the anti-communism which was built up. But of course, a great many of the international brigades were not communists. husband were.
In 96, you could feel that comradeship when they all got together. That amazing feeling of being back together again, because it was the most amazing experience. It was really the first time that the Brigadas had been thanked and acknowledged by the Spanish government. And so Brigadas came from all over the world, from America and all over Europe, and I think they were totally overwhelmed by the reaction and the welcome they received from the Spanish people. Because if they were walking down the street, young people would just stand and clap and give them flowers, and it was the most emotional experience for them. It must have felt like a recognition that they'd never received from the British government of what they had done. It was a kind of thank you for what you did to help Spain.
Tras más de 70 años se sigue hablando de ellos con cariño, admiración y respeto. Pero, ¿qué nos ha quedado de ellos? ¿Seguirá su vida siendo un ejemplo a seguir en el siglo XXI?
What they gave us was a sense of internationalism, that what is happening in another country is important, and that you can't just close your mind or your eyes to what is happening in other places. That I cannot imagine it happening again. But certainly, I think with young people, that sense that young people, a lot of young people have, that what is happening in other countries is important to them, and that they can do something in terms of campaigning and demonstrating. I think that those ideals still exist. I think that most of the men and the women who went to Spain would not say that Spain owed them anything. They were certainly pleased to be thanked and to be recognised. But I think that for those people who went to Spain, they did it because it was important to them, and they weren't expecting glory and they weren't expecting medals. They did it because there's a very famous poem, I think it's by C.D. Lewis, and he says they went because their eyes could see no other way.
Pues hombre, España, claro que sí que eso debe, y está en deuda. Y está en deuda además, Porque la verdad es que en la defensa de las libertades fueron los brigadistas los que le hicieron de hielo, conjuntamente con los españoles. En la vida se volverá a dar esa gesta y esa entrega tan definitiva, ¿no? En cuerpo y alma, ya. Esto es cierto.
All of the men I met who've been in Spain, they never liked to talk about themselves as individuals. They always talked about the Brigadas.
La muerte, cuando es justa, también tiene más valor que la vida.
Spain doesn't owe, we owe a lot to Spain. The world owes a lot to Spain.
Fueron valientes, muy valientes, en el Ebro especialmente. Y perdimos la guerra teniendo toda la razón.
En principio no he arrepentido de nada. Volvería a repetirlo 20 veces. Eso es principio. 20 veces que no lo digo en broma. Me volvería otra vez ahí.
Acabar con el fascismo, acabar con el fascismo.
Podrán morir las personas, podrán pasar las banderas. Tras el paso de los siglos, el recuerdo, como arena entre los dedos, partirá y no nos quedará nada. Pero mientras quede una persona en la tierra que intente vehementemente recordar a esas personas, a su desinterés, su fuerza, su altruismo, su pasión, permanecerán para siempre en nuestra memoria. Todo es nada. Su grandeza humana y su valía moral les sobrevivirá siempre, porque cuando una persona no mira al presente, ni tampoco al futuro, solo vive con ansias, y ese fue su caso. Pasarán los siglos y quizá en un futuro volverán a pisar la tierra ciudadanos sin fronteras, sin banderas, para darnos, esta vez sí, una sociedad libre, confraternizada, donde vivir en paz y armonía, con todos y todo.